I had to wait till the music fades out, of course, because of how I get hassled on YouTube for the copyrights and whatnot. But that was Dylan, Please Crawl Out Your Window, which that to me sounded like some kind of a song that Richard Allen Miller would say to someone he would be talking to. Crawl out of that window that you hold yourself into, that box that you limit yourself into a world of wonder and just wildness and excitement. And so let me welcome back to the show Richard Allen Miller. And I think that's going to work. There we go. I hear something.
You want me to do a voice check?
No. We're doing this live. We're on the air. We're going for you. You got a nice
good.
Got a nice video.
And I'm coming 4x4 without any CMEs or any weirdness going on. That's still because the last week it's been terrible here.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What's been going on?
Low bandwidth, everything.
Oh, I see what you mean. You mentioned you typed that you had snow today.
Yeah, we had some snow this morning. It had been really nice the last 2 days, and then Christmas Day we had snow also. So our snow levels are up to normal this year for the first time in, 6 years.
So where exactly is here?
Grants Pass, Oregon. I'm
Oregon,
right next to California border.
Well, actually, I've been following you on Facebook. I don't really do a lot of Facebook, but the last couple of days I had off from work. I've been doing some reading, and I noticed you're up on the Fukushima thing. Now, one thing I'd like to ask you about, I've heard everything from it's nothing to there's no sea anemones left around the West Coast. I mean, can you kind of put it in perspective or a reality of what's going on?
Sure. Yeah. End of days. How does that one work for you? No, man. Actually, there is a website called NETC.com, Nuclear Emergency Tracking Center. That's a good place to go. Pull that up. Take a look where your location is. Tell me what RADCON level alerts are going on.
All right.
There it is.
Let me switch to that.
There it is.
Yeah.
And if you want to move the map over and take a look at Japan, it's lit up like a candle.
Well, now, I see. I'm looking up at the West Coast, and I see some red by you there.
Yeah. It's so bad that we have no idea. We're in uncharted territory, and now other nuclear reactors around the country are starting to go critical. Everything that is built by General Electric, the Daiichi-like forms, they're all 20 years old or more, and they're all leaking. And just in the flooding in Illinois right now in the burial grounds there, they had down in Stockton near Sacramento a ground fire that it had an explosion where a couple of barrels got shot out that was stored nuclear waste that nobody had a record of. It happened last week. What's happening around the country right now is that we're realizing that nuclear energy is about as safe and as the bubonic plague. So my message, along with most rational scientists, is turn the switch off rather than if we're going to the Madrid fault line right now is rattling. Oklahoma. I don't even know where to go on all of this.
Well, let me stop here. I did go over to Hawaii. I went over to Japan, and there is several black. Which
and
doesn't sound too good.
That's right. That's updated every minute. Okay, so that's what's happening this very moment.
But see, the thing I'm confused about is I'm assuming what I'm looking at is, oh no, I am not. Fukushima is on the backside, but near Korea.
That's right. That's correct. Everything in Japan is now affected. 48% of the children are now showing some forms of thyroid anomaly.
Now, what are these dots? Are they just where they measured it, or is there something there?
Yeah, these are actual measuring sites.
Okay, I got you.
There's Douglas Dietrich, some guy there with his little microphone and radiating, and they call in. You will notice that Europe is now turned off. They do not no longer monitor it. And that's crazy.
Is black the worst?
Yeah. Well, Europe is getting dusted. The whole world is actually.
I mean, there's a lot
dusted.
of black in China, and it's not like in Japan. It's not even by Fukushima. I mean, they're measuring a lot by the area there, and there is a lot of black over there. But I'm looking at what would this be? It would be the
particulate that's in the stratosphere. Basically, they're taking aircraft that come into LAX and removing them from the public in terms of DEQ and the way they wash them down now from Asia. They come in hot. It would be like being in an aircraft going from Asia back to LAX right now is probably the same exposure rate as 100 X-rays.
Yeah, I noticed there's no Europe measurements.
Yeah, I told you, they turned the switch off on that. They are not even monitoring that, and that's because it's terrible and everybody to me in riot. That's just page one. There's all these different other things going on to include natural catastrophe or weather changes.
No, here's a real bad one.
In the ocean, the actual. I don't know if you saw on my Facebook where it was 50 degrees. The Arctic was 50 degrees above normal yesterday, and worse, Antarctica was at 57 degrees, and Greenland is melting so quickly now. The ocean currents are going to cause a day after tomorrow. That will happen. Now, we're already 2 degrees above what brought on the Jurassic freeze.
You know what? I'm having a hard time accepting, though, is that this is because of smokestacks. I mean, I'm not saying it's not happening. My argument is not.
Okay, let's try it this way. Okay. I am a pretty smart scientist, and I try to connect dots, and I know I will probably never, ever really know what happened. Okay? That's where that's at. With that said, I can connect dots right now just from the things I'm reading, know what is not credible, what Gunderson is credible, for example, and then make my own scientific valued judgment on studies or things that I would like to do to confirm my worst fears. And there it is. And so it's a half a dozen different things that are happening all simultaneously right now. And I have no idea how it's going to play out. One thing I do know is there will be blood. It'll be like that. Well, I mean, there's so many people on the earth. That's the prime, the prime agenda for everything. And it's fact. And the reason that they want fewer people is because of the transnational corporations. Now, what we are, we're too difficult to manage. There's too many of us.
Now, Hawaii's got a green, and I thought that would be in the pathway. Maybe it's too far south.
Green. What are we talking about here? There's too many people in the world, and the transhuman movement has even got the end of humanity at 2050, whereas strictly at that point in Avatar 4. Now, there are science fiction stories.
Those people are insane.
About. What's that?
Those people are insane. I mean, I don't see the technology downloading consciousness to me is one of the most ridiculous things I've ever heard in my life.
So we're going to go down to the surface of Saturn. You can't do it in a human form. So what you do is you'll create a machine that will allow your consciousness to have the eyes and ears of an eagle like a shaman does. Yeah, where you go down, that's your avatar. And you go down, you're up in space, directing the show and experiencing with sensory motor inputs. Avatar. We have an Avatar 2 now, by the way.
I don't buy that. I mean, I could see them doing it in a psychic way, using some type
remote viewing.
Yeah, but I just don't buy the whole machine thing. I mean, they don't even know how the brain works and consciousness works even to begin to build a machine to hold it. I mean, I just think
what you're talking about is Turing and mathematical, what we call algorithms, like On's algebra that Cliff High uses, infobots that can look into the future, time travel. That's the work I did for military. That will be one of the chapters in my book, Spook Central, the work I did for the military. I have to tell you some stuff here.
Okay.
There's things I don't understand. It works like that. It's like even the best laid plans of mice and men. Here we are. I can tell you that at this very moment, I have developed some techniques to allow myself to talk to a specific future. The futures are a bunch of arbitraries. I have a future that I have in my mind's eye, and it's directing me at this moment to literally change my past. The past is your primary wave. That's that cavitation bubble where the water, when the drop hits, not the wave going out, that's the future. The wave going inward slaps and captures that media. Usually it's air, and it's called a cavitation bubble. That is a toroidal topology that is being studied at MIT right now, cavitation. And then we can talk about supercavitation, which is even a different...
No, and we did that actually in our last... We went into great detail of those two things in the last interview.
Sorry?
We went into great detail on those two things in the last interview, the cavitation.
Yeah.
So we could just refer to it, but we don't have to go all the way back through it.
So water is now being discussed as a dimensional gate, or a way of creating kind of a cavitation in your life. That means that next century there's a high likelihood that there will be not only an inner Earth, but a black dark night, a light night. Probably a reflected coefficient of you into another universe. And that's mathematics that comes out of which Alex Kavarenin and his microtubule things that Hameroff and the others are all quoting about. I'd give you that paper if you'd like. It's pretty hard to read.
Okay, well, let me go back to what's going on with Fukushima. So, I mean, what do you see as an end game here? Is it going to melt down? It's just going to keep spewing out poison until there's a lot of it?
It's going to keep spewing out poisons until the world realizes that Japan and Enron are inequipped to deal with it. It's out of control. That's at this moment. They have no game plan at this moment.
Of course, all we're seeing on this graph, as I'm going back to this webpage, is that we're seeing the measured areas. I mean, the part that there isn't anything means no one measured it. We don't know that.
Well, that's one possibility, yeah. And all of that is our database of we don't know. And so we don't really know. But I can tell you this. The children in Japan are all exhibiting thyroid anomalies right now. That means nascent iodine right out of the gate. Probably you should increase your hygiene in the way you do business. When you come in from outside, you leave everything at the front door and take a shower. That's a pretty good thing to do. Your boots especially. Don't drag them into the house. If you want to concern yourself, what they did just less than 3 weeks ago, the U.S. Navy did a study up at Reedsport, Oregon, where they deployed lithium in an aerosol, geoengineering. And we were sent up a week later to do panels on the barium and aluminum oxide and lithium. Everybody up there was sick. It was an experiment to how to lock down a small city if it goes in rest because of, the grid collapsing. That's what Matt Stein and I are doing down in Hollywood in mid-March. The city has approved us to do a 2-day urban survival skill workshop where we're going to teach people how to survive this kind of crap. It's going to require a new way of living, a new way of being, different concept of hygiene. The aircraft now at LAX is no longer washed in public. They're taking it out of sight to clean it. It's that bad. All the airlines are starting to fail with fatigue because of the exposure to the high energy ionization.
Now, is that because they're up in the air? Is it because they're up in the? Is it because they're up in the air? There's more up in the air. Okay.
Most of the particulate is up in the stratosphere. We have another Van Allen belt, and it's toxic. And when it rains, some of it comes down, and then you have these little hot spots like Idaho this last week. It's nowhere to hide, and probably flying is now probably as risky as Oh, I don't know, man. I know that cell phones are going to have a warning label on them, like tobacco has now in less than 10 years. The whole of our technologies are toxic across the board, and now some of them are out of control. And radiation is going to be one of those things that is a forever thing, half-life.
Yeah, I'm seeing the little black thing over by Boise.
Yeah, they're all over, and they drop arbitrarily with the weather. And that's one of 18 different things I did on geoengineering. I've identified 18 different kinds of goo that they're putting in the atmosphere. It's really awful. And when people start to realize or figure one out, like they can smell it, they'll change it. And so you can't. They'll stop for a couple days. They'll whatever they do. But it's everywhere. It's all over the earth. And as far as I'm concerned, from a scientific point of view, I would suggest that our planet has been invaded. How's that feel?
Yeah, we talked about that.
I mean, I can draw examples of this is crazy making, and everybody knows it. And why is nobody doing anything about it? I mean, get a grip. Now, I don't have the answers. In fact, I know I'm probably never going to know what really happened. I'm just like the 99%. I don't have a clue, but I'm aware and I'm keeping my eyes open. And I'll tell you, there's a movie you might enjoy called Black Road about in 2023 about the Free State of Jefferson. That's a good science fiction movie that just came out. Black Road. It just came out a couple of weeks ago, and it's a science fiction. It takes place in 2025, right, in the Free State of Jefferson. And let me tell you, it's going to be a new world out there shortly. So, and unfortunately, there will be blood. What is Chicago going to do when the municipalities can't deliver water? FEMA?
I think they're all going to calmly get together and sit down and figure out the problem.
Yeah, right. Yeah, let's turn the fire hydrant pumps on. That's a good thing that isn't going to happen. And so how is it going to work for that? I mean, people going after their little bottles of water. Water is going to get everybody in trouble. And they tried to privatize that. Now they're doing air. They're hijacking our air. They're going to turn us into laptops. How's that one feel? That's how it's going to go. You're getting so much of these minerals in your body that you're actually starting to respond to the electromagnetics of the environment that's being created. Isn't that interesting?
Well, actually, the guest I had before is a psychic friend of mine, and we have him on every month. But I was talking to him about how I'm feeling relatively antsy and kind of a doom and gloom kind of feeling, and you're not helping it any.
Yeah, the quickening. The Christians call it the quickening, Nibiru. There's already, they've discovered this anomaly out past the Oort cloud that is probably 7x. That planet, it's about 5.5 times the size of Earth, and it's much more massive, like probably nickel or something heavy. And there is an interesting thing. The Jet Propulsion Lab noted that it had an unusual IR signature. Now, the only thing I can think of that would cause the kind of IR signature that is currently being touted in the scientific measuring field would be a Dyson sphere surrounding a small dwarf star. That's basically what's probably going to happen. And the Clovis Indian have written on caves telling about it through the Hopi, and now we're discovering these drawings of primitive man. We're not so primitive. It wasn't that he's hunting bison. That happened to be a star constellation, and all these dots right there, there's your star map. Oh, wait, over here it's in reflection. That means it was seen from space. I don't think we have a clue who and what we are, really, or what's about to happen. And, I just, you gotta wonder.
I mean, that's, that's why I like talking to you, besides having a fountain of stuff, it's like you're able to come out and say that. I mean, can you imagine NASA coming on TV and having a press conference and said, like, well, I don't think we know what's going to happen. I mean.
Yeah, well, that's because there's more going on than my grade allows access to.
No, but I think they probably, if they were honest, would say the same thing.
Here's the deal, and this is the big point everybody's got to remember. If imagination is real, and I'm going to, in my new book, The Non-Local Mind, I'm going to write about imagination. If imagination is reality, then most likely we're also creating our apocalypse and aliens right now. That's how it works. And so you got good, bad, and ugly, just like, the spaghetti westerns. That's what you get. And so you have now, for the first time, a responsibility for the thoughts you're choosing to entertain. And that's... Was that a feedback? What happened?
No, that's right. That's right. No, I mean,
No.
I think it's important that in my construct of the universe, how I think it works, right? In my construct, as we being conscious beings that have been inserted into matter, as we rise the vibration of matter back toward a higher spiritual level, we're going to have a more quick cause and effect of our creative thinking. There's a buffer in time where you could say, I wish that guy would explode, and he wouldn't, because we don't have that real-time ability. We have the ability, we don't have the real-time ability because there's this buffer, but as we get closer and closer, or higher and higher, or faster and faster, we're going to have more instant karma. We're going to have what we are doing is going to come to fruition quicker. And that's why when I hear the words quickening and all that, I don't know what they're meaning by it, but to me it looks like, be careful what you are thinking, is that you're already starting to bring it into reality. And that buffer zone for you to change your mind is getting shorter and shorter. And we're going to have stuff happening quicker and quicker. Is that like what you're saying?
Yes and no. Yes.
Okay.
It's, how do I begin this? An electron seemingly knows when it encounters a magnetic field. It's a predictable behavior. That, according to philosophers, is a first stage of consciousness. And what we're discussing are resolutions of information. The idea that you have a physical plane, and then the way your subconscious and higher self speaks to you is emotionally, the emotional plane. And then you have intellectual plane, and then you have the archetypal plane, where I am you, and you are me, and we are the collective unconscious of Walrus. There it is. Now, if you look at the universe like that, now certain doors open on possibilities, and this is what I've been exploring. Let me explain. When I did power tools, I spoke about using biofeedback and autogenics, the idea of learning how to control heart rate, pulse, respiration. Okay, that's what I did 40 years ago. What I'm doing today is I'm now focused on neurotransmitters and what they feel like and sound like in my body. Learning how to control them like I would control my heart rate, pulse, respiratory temperature. I can change the temperature in my hands 8 degrees right now with my mind. Okay, now I'm doing that with neurotransmitters. Let me give you an example. The chill that goes up your body, that's dimethyltryptamine. Actually, it's not dimethyltryptamine. Specifically, it's N, and hyphen dimethyltryptamine, very specific neurotransmitter. And that is the 6th level in the hologram of information up here, dealing with microtubules and the way information is transferred from your neck down to your toe, like they do in reflexology, acupuncture, other things like that. Basically, you have a system of stats in your body These habitats are in synchronous with your thought patterns, and your thought patterns are what actually structure the expression into the physical world. How psyche is actually brought into matter is through the construct of structured water. And we're writing up the theories on that. Alex Cavarenin, about 10 years earlier, with Jerry Pollack and others, did the original studies in the mathematical substance of how a microtubule wraps itself and would act as a resonant cavity oscillator. The theory is there, and what it suggests as one of the doors, like when you have impedance and you reactance and you have imaginary solutions. Well, this one allows you to, quote, change the movie. You're able to change it with your nature of consciousness by playing your neurotransmitters like concert.
All right, now, wait, aren't we talking, if I can use an analog here, aren't you talking about how an internal combustion engine works and transfers the power to the wheels versus somebody who would be trying to learn how to drive more effectively? In other words,
there is a feedback loop. That's correct. It's like a servo mechanism with feedback, and each neurotransmitter has a specific feeling or sound to it. Dimethyltryptamine, you know it. You can generate that in your own. You can create that chill in your body at any time you want it with a little concentration. You can do it. Now, if you practiced at that, and you practice the other 7, and there's a list of them. Another one is lysergic acid amide. That one is when you go, aha, and you connect one dot with another. Now, if you play those two together, now you have another kind of power tool for the levels of consciousness that I'm now beginning to enjoy that are changing movies. And that's where you connect in time travel with your future and your past as a moment thing. It's the difference in, what do they call it, intent to purpose. I know I'm rambling. I'm sorry.
No, but I'm following.
I understand how the thing works, sort of. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm seeing. So, like, what I'm getting from your books, it would be that if you want to use this mechanism you're describing, there are methods you can do it, but you don't have to know how it works in a biochemical sense.
Yes.
But there is
George, the rain in Spain. You've got it. Yes, that's good. That is called Magick or cybernetic anthropology. It has many names now. It's where it's advanced physics with a mystery school. Like the Aborigine, they don't know or have a model on how the wind works. They know how to talk to it. They have a different relationship to wind than we do. Their form is not as precision. Look, physics isn't about laws. I don't know of any law in physics that's lasted longer than 20 years, really. It's just they're models of trying to explain how data fits, and then we get a different model. It isn't absolute. They're just, have no idea. Probably doesn't even work like that with elementary particles. Is it a wave? Is that what is it, a field? No. So what you have are universes that you can explore. A quantum universe, everything is measured in space-time. But in a holographic universe, instead of space-time, that's just a simple subset in a more complex system of resolutions of information, fractal math. And you have generators, little water molecules that Mandelbrot, Julia May, that create itself into larger things that become a habitat because of a groupness.
Okay, it's a little discouraging what you're saying, because it sounds like to me, to give you an analog, that you're somebody talking to somebody else about how you can actually build a machine to fly, and then the actual reality of going to build the machine to fly is ridiculous. I mean, it's how you going to, 2 people in the backyard, how are you going to build a machine to fly? So it's like, I'm hoping there's something that would be less technically limiting, or like, for example, you want to do this, just meditate for the next 40 years. Well, all right, I'm 58. might not have 40 years to go. So, I mean, I'm hoping that there are methods in spirituality and advancement that come on a more intuitive level with the medium.
Left brain instead of right brain. Yeah, gotcha. Children. So there is a facility out here in Williams, Oregon, where I live, called Pacifica Gardens. It was Steve Miller's old thing. He's got a big sound studio and other things on it. It's a couple thousand acres. And they have, it's now a foundation for children. And they have this bus called the Caterpillar. It's a bus, children's bus, that goes to different schools and teaches entomology. And so what we're going to do is we're going to clean the entire bus out, and we're going to put water testing kits in there so that children, 4 years old, can determine if the water's safe to drink. And then next thing we'll do is teach them what's in the water that makes it unsafe to drink, and then what they can do about it to clean the water, maybe, to be able to make it drinkable. And then 4, teach their parents how they learned it. And that's projects that we're doing out here that will change the whole structure of what we think is information and our relationship to it. Children are natural in a playground. How is it that a autistic child can do a bedding plant better than a master gardener? And I've seen Down's children syndrome that have taught that family a level of love that would never even come from having a very devoted pet, a level of spirituality. Quality. I don't think there's anything wrong with our children. I think it's our society and what they would deem as important and normal. And I remember, I'm going to do a metaphor now. This is not real. There was one group of aliens that were studying man because they couldn't possibly understand how a species like us could exist when the difference between being normal psychotic could be measured in micrograms. So, I mean, we're a pretty fine-tuned thing there. And as you raise your level of awareness on the releases of these different things, and you can feel them, you can actually feel these different neurotransmitters. So, are you okay?
Yeah, I was going for a break, and we just keep talking because I don't want to cut you off. We can always go to a break later because I am in control. I am the man. I could say break, no break.
I do something? Yeah. What happened? No, I didn't. What happened?
No. I have breaks timed into the interview so that we stop, take a break.
It's been an hour. Sorry about that.
Yeah. So when you hit a stopping point, we can just go to a break. But go ahead. I didn't mean to. Now it's all derailed. But pay no attention to the man behind the curtain here when I'm dancing around.
Yeah. It looks like you have a very cool place behind you. Have you seen, I'm just now starting to sort out my life. I found SEAL reports. I'm putting that together right now. And Spook Central, another one.
Now, what happened? I mean, your whole leaving that other place, there was all kinds of trouble going on. You were being harassed and harangued to some degree. I mean, did it all stop? Or?
I am an asset with no disclosure. I think so. Because where I live now is like possibly 4 or 5 times nicer than I've ever had and or could ever afford. I live in a 4-bedroom split level, 1 acre with outbuildings and 35 kW generator, hot tub, everything for $800 a month. And then they're putting a bunker in next door that's not military. That's 3 acres. Took them all summer. They put a couple cargo boxes down up on the hill, but then they took this 3-acre thing and they put in a big thing, and they said publicly that it's an underground archery range. Well, I don't know.
Some people like to do archery in the winter, and they just.
I'm happy to be here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's in the middle of Growland. Everybody here is a criminal of some kind. It's state of Jefferson. Yeah. So I like it here. The weather is different. There is absolutely no question that we're in for something serious to happen. And candidly, everything points to a series of upcoming disasters that we should be prepared for. Like municipalities are going to collapse. and they're not going to be able to deliver water. How are you going to do that? Everybody today should have 3 days of water on hand for everyone and every family, pet in the household, and a replacement plan the first day, because that's how it's going to go. And it's going to hit first with water, and then everybody will wake up, and then it's food. And it'll be weapons and drugs, the usual things that they do. That's what I see happening ahead. I'm not happy about it. And so when my half full glass fell over the table and broke, I looked down and guess what? It's already half fixed. No, man. You got to stay with the high road or it will consume you. And it is consuming. It's so bad that I see it clearly as a scientist. And there's nothing I can do about it. What I can do is I know that my children are learning how to be a pedophile or a gambler or an alcoholic by learning it from me. And so I have to walk my talk, because that's how many may, and my future lives through my daughter, grandchildren, whatever, that part, they have a chance. Right now, I wouldn't want to be a teenager. 2 generations without a family. Right now, that's where America is. We're lost. And there's a need for rekindling. That's why this children program I'm doing is actually ecumenical. I'm trying to get a bunch of different churches involved. Each of them does gardens, and it all recognize the importance of our most important natural resource. It's our children. It's not timber. It's not about money. It's not. In fact, that's just 3 or 5 old men sending 100,000 young men to war for more money.
I just happened to.
I have a little button. Yeah, I have a little button that has Ford Motor Company and a Nazi swastika on it. So that's how that works.
I just happened to look, and I found an ad here. It's a webpage that says, "Rent rocker Steve Miller's old Oregon ranch house, or just drop by to fish." And it's got a picture of it, of the house.
Yeah.
And this is what
there's a bunch of them.
Oh.
We're putting up, we have, if you go to, here's another website, PacificDomes.com. That's a good website. PacificDomes.com. That is Asha Deliverance. She's part of our community here of over 30 years. I'm part of here. And we make these geodesic domes, any size. And the 30-footer, that is very large, is currently called the Mars Project over in Kailua, where we printed it, 30-foot dome in cement, a special kind of cement, I might add, in 24 hours. And then we line it with cadmium and a vertical aquaculture system in it. Now, those things go up quick, and woofer shacks for emergency and hospitals, that kind of thing, when we go into Haiti or something, you can see they have all kinds there. That's out of Ashland. Different kinds of material, predicated on what habitat you're going into.
Yeah, I have it going now, and people are watching right now with it. PacificDomes.com. They're showing a little slideshow.
Yeah, and then there's SustainableLifeboat.com. That's one of my websites. Brand new one that I'm putting up with a number of people. We have over in Asheville, North Carolina, a group that has a flying Chautauqua. They take a balloon and they drop in on 8 different permaculture communities in 4 states there. I stayed up in Cloudland. I was at a monolithic dome up there with others up there, and that there's a group that what that flying balloon does. It's a Chautauqua. It's the thing that brings in the entertainment on the wind. Up in Sandpoint, Idaho.
The only other time I've ever heard the word Chautauqua was in Zen in the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance.
Yes,
you and him, Robert Pierzig, the only time I've ever heard the word mentioned. But I know what it means.
Well,
I know what it means.
It's the way we hitchhike with Tom Robbins and another roadside attraction. Wait, that was when even cowgirls get the blues. They were feeding peyote to the Canadian geese. So
these don't look. These domes don't look very warm though. They look like they're tents.
They're anything you want, including 1 foot thick, underground. They have all different kinds there.
That would work.
Different kinds of material, different kinds of habitats where you're going. If you're going into Haiti during a hurricane, You need a different kind of a dome.
Boy, I would love to live in one of those, like a big studio house, a studio apartment house on the dome. That would be just awesome. In fact,
so that's another book I have all prepared. Dr. Lenny Time is the editor. It's called the Marshall Papers. Bob Marshall was the protege of Frank Lloyd Wright that invented the vector equilibrium matrix, and he was an idiot savant. Nobody could understand him. They hired my ex-wife Iona and I to go in and try to translate him. And this is what's come out of all of Marshall's works, including the geodesic dome and what we now call the buckyball. It's a C60 or a C120 carbon molecule. That is now an allotrope of carbon that is literally 100 times stronger than diamond. I don't know that that's what I saw when I was back in the 70s. I don't know what that was I saw as that so-called artifact. But today we have such a similar physics in terms of how that works. And I watched how it was our imagination that made it happen. I think that electricity and nuclear energy are wrong directions of energy.
Well, I'm looking at these domes. I'm almost weeping. They look so awesome. I mean, it's like I would want to move there tomorrow.
Not Ashland, but, nearby maybe.
Yeah.
Ashland, bunch of blue earth. That's the seat of Shakespeare there, by the way. That's where they do all the Shakespeare in the Round, in the Redwoods there. And then I work over in Jacksonville at the Brit, which is a musical concert place. Mark Knopfler liked my hat. He came in one time when he was playing on stage, and he liked the hat, and then we started talking, and turned out he had a couple of my books. I didn't even know that.
That's cool.
Yeah, cool. It was an interest, immediately there was a connect, And the Brit, B-R-I-T-T, is in Jacksonville, the Brit. And the Brit is, I've been volunteering there, and this will be my 17th year coming up. 17 years I've been working there at the Brit. Look at that headliners that they have, and the classical music that we have, and jazz. Have Jean-Luc Ponty come in, play with Bella Fleck and Charlie Clark.
Yeah, he can play a fiddle.
Well, fiddle, yeah, right. Django Reinhardt. You got other kinds of things going on over there in Paris, but yeah.
All right. So what do you think is going on with the this current election thing? Not to get too conventional, but I mean, you have Trump.
Yeah.
To me, he's like a cartoon. It's like
it is a cartoon. It's a fait accompli for Hillary Clinton. That's how it's going to play.
That's what it sounds like to me. People will vote for Hillary with holding their nose because they can't vote for a cartoon.
You can't do this. Let me tell you how it's going to play. If Hillary, and she will become president, they'll cheat, they'll do anything. She will appoint her husband as head of the United Nations, just like he did her. And then you will have the single most powerful couple in the world reporting directly for the Bushes.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd use the word couple. I don't know if I'd use the word couple. I don't necessarily think that they're...
Well, there's, who was it that was caught in bed with her that said something about that? That was John Lennon's girlfriend, Yoko Ono. Mm. That's right. There's that. That's all out there. Who knows? Who cares? That's the wrong thing. A president is supposed to represent our most, I don't know, what is it called? Our most finest and educated. And Hillary Clinton, the only reason she's running is because she's a criminal and she'd be put in prison otherwise. The amount of what she did wrong, I mean, it's tantamount. It's wrong. And so I don't know what to say about things like the Dulles brothers or all the rest of where it all started, but it's time. What Dennis Kucinich says is that our country is going to fragment into 9 provinces, probably 9 different, I don't know, what would I call them? Belief systems that are different, like the West Coast is different than the South. Mm. There'll be 9 different provinces. Texas will be its own thing, trust me. That will probably be the first one. I don't know what it's all going to mean, but this movie, The Black Road, is interesting science fiction, and it is about the same thing that, who was it? It was Ernest Callenbach in his book Ecotopia, wrote about Washington, Oregon, and California seceding from the Union in 1984. And then they opened their doors in 1999 to show what the differences were, where we don't have petroleum and things like that. The newest version of that is Michael Tobias at Berkeley. You see, Berkeley is writing on what's called Voice of the Planet. That was a series that was put out by Meryl Streep and William Shatner with PBS. It was a 9-part series. And where Meryl Streep is the supercomputer up in the Himalayas, and he's the anthropologist that goes to talk to it. How to save the planet, the snow leopard, that kind of thing. I have a sense that some of the things that are about to happen, there is nothing that any of us can do to prepare for it, including the ultra wealthy. It's going to be like that. There is a book worth reading. Greg Bear, B-A-E-R, science fiction writer, has written a book called Eon and another one called Epoch. And it's the Epoch one you want to read, where 144,000 individuals are taken up into space to witness the death of Mother. You know, Mars and the asteroid belt aside, I'm guessing from the limited part of what I'm knowing about the different epochs, and we're in the 6th one right now, I'm guessing that Mars was where Atlantis existed, and that they're most likely, from all the scientific research I've seen, there's most likely we're already inhabiting it. To what level and extent, I have no clue. I did, when I worked at Boeing and had a top secret clearance and vault permits and things, saw a top secret document that suggested a manned expedition to Mars in 1968, 1 year before the moon. I have no idea what happened to it. I have over here a thing from NASA with a one-way ticket to Mars. Have you ever seen one of those?
No.
Yeah, let me go get it. It's right here. Hold on.
All right, I'm looking for. I'm not seeing.
NASA is issuing these, and so this is an official thing from. Let me.
Yeah, there we go. We can see it. Yeah, so you got yourself a one-way ticket to Mars.
Get out of jail card.
Now, I'm looking up the Greg Bear here, and I don't see Epoch in his list. I see Eon, but not Epoch.
Eon and Epoch.
Eternity?
Yeah, maybe it's Eternity. I thought
Okay.
it's Epoch. I'm positive it's Epoch. In fact,
well, I mean, I'm looking at I'm looking at the works of Greg Bear, and there is no Epoch there. It's got an Eon, so Epoch. It's part of the way. There's Eon, Epoch, Legacy, and the Way of All Ghosts.
Yeah, it's a trilogy.
I said Epoch.
Yeah, there's
Eon, Eternity. There's no Epoch there.
Oh, okay. Well, then it's the Eternity. I thought it was I'm not going to bother with it. Who cares? Anyway, you got the idea. Greg Bear. And there's another book that you might find interesting. You like that kind of stuff? I read this one a long time ago, too. It's the guy that wrote Lucifer's Hammer. I can't think of his name right now.
I read that. Not Neil.
Okay, well, he wrote a second book.
Was that with the elephants? Is that with the little elephants?
Yeah, it's called Sword of Allah.
Oh, okay.
The Sword of Allah, and it's about Blue Turban Ayatollah that gets a hold of a particle beam weapon and decides to sterilize the Earth using a couple of microwave bursts into the sun, create ionizing radiation and sterilization of the Earth. And the last chapter of that book takes place in Grants Pass, Oregon. It says so right in the book. So when a radical newsletter guy out of Ashland takes over the presidential bunker that's here. The presidential bunker, by the way, is here in Grants Pass, Oregon, no longer in Colorado Springs.
I thought they had that thing underground, the airport over in Denver. That was the.
Oh yeah, but you wait and see what's under Medford Airport, man. Or better yet, how about this one? Go to Mount Sexton. Go to Google Earth and look up Mount Sexton and tell me what that is on the top of the mountain. It's not military.
Let me look at it. Google.
Yeah. Well, we've got all kinds of things out here. We have Posse Comitatus and the Oath Keepers and, the Ku Klux Klan. Everybody's out here because this is bunker land. I saw one bunker in town here that was poured with the same concrete the bridges were in 1912.
I can't.
That's all long.
I'd have to download Google Earth. I don't have it on this map. Otherwise, I could show people it. I don't. I can't do it. You have to download it. Apparently. Maybe they have.
Well, yeah. Google Earth is a download. Once you have it, you spy on anybody. They will put hotspots where they will not update it on purpose.
All right, now I want to get this book right. Sword of Allah.
The Sword of Allah. Yeah.
The Sword of Allah.
Yeah, the Sword of Allah. Yeah, there's a real one too. That's a movie that was put out. Disregard that. It was go to Lucifer's Hammer. That author, he wrote the second book was called The Sword of Allah.
All right, I'm trying to find Bruce Bowers. That's not him. I do have Lucifer's Hammer. I don't mean to take up time here, but I'm going to try and find this book.
It was a good book.
Larry Niven. Larry Niven or Jerry Pornell?
Yeah, Niven maybe. I don't remember. I'll look it up if you want.
Yeah, all right. Well, I was hoping to have it in. Go ahead. You can keep... Ring World.
Sword of Allah book. There it is. I've got Sword of Allah book. It's Sword of Allah book. Hold on. I'm loading it up right now. And, all
right. Well, we'll take a break here at the top of the hour. You will do that, and we'll come back, and we'll have answers for the people. Because I'm looking at Niven's work now. I didn't like Footfall at all, but I did like the Lucifer's Hammer one. So I also read, I think, in A Mote in God's Eye, too. So,
yeah, wasn't that good? That was a very good one.
All right, so hold on. We'll come back. We'll talk with Richard Allen Miller live from over by there in Oregon, and we'll continue with Feet to the Fire live. Richard, it's good to see you. It was good to meet you. We'll talk about that when we come back. Actually, seeing you in person. So, hang on.
Yeah, it was nice.
Hang on there. We'll be right back.
I did paste quote.
What is the author's name?
There. Oh, Bear. Like a bear. B-E-A-R. Bear. Greg Bear.
All right.
And he wrote Aeon, Eternity, Legacy, and the Way of All Ghosts. And that's an interesting journey. He's like Richard Sheldrake and some of the others that have scientific backgrounds. And so when they write the science fiction, there is an element of mystery school in it. That's what a good science fiction writer is.
Actually, I read a book. Actually, I wouldn't mind talking about this a little bit. I read a book. Let me go grab it. Hold on. I want to get the title and everything fine. I got it from... I actually listened to it on audiobook, and I went and bought the actual
History of the World.
The Secret History of the World by Mark Booth.
I've heard of that book.
And what he claims in there is that he has got in with a lot of these mystics and masters and whatnot, and they have told him the history of the world from their perspectives. And it was quite interesting that just give you one little piece, the Garden of Eden scenario was actually, we were vegetation living in a world where we're all connected through, tubules. And when we fell in the garden, we became separated from one another and started to move into this freestanding animal phase, let's say. And so of course, the proof of it is they say that when you look at your nervous system, it looks like a plant. If you just took your nervous system and your arteries and left away the skin and the muscle, you'd see all these little roots hanging around. But what was my original point for bringing it up? I forgot what I was even going to ask about it.
Well, we were talking about the eon and eternity science background.
Yeah. So it's gone.
See what's happening when you breathe the air in Chicago? It's going to get worse too, buddy. I mean it. You know how to bioremediate that garbage out of your body? I use a brown algae called motafilin.
Okay. I've seen speaking of...
And turmeric also.
I use turmeric every day, and I also still do those mushrooms, but I had to switch because when I went to buy them, they didn't have any more at.
Which ones are you using?
The
Reishi, Miyazaki,
no,
Shiitake, Coriolis.
the pills,
Turkey tail.
the ground up ones from. No, I'm not going to remember it. Gosh.
Well, they're all ground out. I mean, you know.
Earth Pulse is where I was getting them, but then they.
Oh, that's okay. There's two things. He does cordyceps sinensis.
Cordyceps.
Yeah, cordyceps sinensis. That's the one you want to do. That's the hybrid form that Nick does. And
yeah, but they didn't have it. I'm looking to see if he's got any more. So I bought some from.
He doesn't carry it anymore, but you can get it from us if you need it. What he's going to do is full spectrum. He's going to continue the 6 blend with the transfer factor, but pound for pound, the cordyceps all by itself is possibly the strongest of all mushrooms by almost a factor of 5.
I bought these from Swanson, is the company that makes the vitamins and all that. So I bought them. They were, maybe I got used to them, but I don't feel the energy effect. Let's say, but there might be something else going on.
Yeah, because it's a different manufacturer. The one that Nick used was the cordyceps hybrid, which is a CS4 cultivar. There's different cultivars. They were looking for polysaccharides in that one, and they spent like a couple of years trying to develop a strain like they do in marijuana. Same thing. And, you know, specific in certain areas of chemistry, target chemistries that you were looking at. The thing is, the German forms of that would be what we call standardized extracts, where the Germans will go out and go for a target chemistry. In your case, it would be cordycepin. And cordycepin in itself is a miracle thing for blowing away cancer and giving you energy. But the whole spread of other polysaccharides, they're all really important. And if you get 3 or 4 or 5 times as many by taking the other ones in, it's all about oxygen being delivered to the body on a cellular level. That's what it's really about, the cordyceps sinensis. The others are beta-glucans and other kinds of chemistries, but I don't know.
Yeah, well, maybe I should just take more of them. Maybe they're not as potent, or I don't know.
You should take as many as you can until you get lower bowel, in which case then you cut back.
All right, I was taking 5 from him, and I took 6 of these, because I thought we were talking 6 would kind of be the top. But
not nearly as strong, probably. Yeah. There is a difference in cultivars. That's just same thing in where the alfalfa is grown.
It does apparently look like he's carrying them still. It's called the 8th Element is his brand.
Yeah, 8th Element. Yeah,
right.
We have some 8th Element here if you'd like.
Yeah. Okay.
I have some in inventory. I like Nick's product. He's just having trouble like I did with John Holliday. Holliday himself is kind of a different character. His products are excellent, though. Aloha Medicinal's products are in my opinion, of all the different places I've seen them, including, what's his name that does the Perfectus fungi perfecti. They're all, nothing comes close to the hybrid form that is CS4, Cordyceps sinensis 4, the 4th variation of it. That one is probably the best one to get. Dollar for dollar, you get probably 5 times the bang for your buck. 5 times as much bang, same dollar.
Yeah, I'm still having a hell of a time trying to find this Sword of Allah. There's like about 1,000 books named that.
Well, yeah.
You sent it to me, but I can't look at it now because it'll mess up your picture. So.
Well, don't worry about my picture.
What was the?
I look like. You notice I'm wearing my talisman too. Did you notice that?
I saw it.
I had my talisman.
Yeah.
Yeah, this thing right here.
Right.
I've had that for it's been a number of generations in my family. I gave it to my daughter about 20 years ago, and then when I had to do radio with Simon LeBeau, Temple of Set, and Keno, Church of Satan, for the U.S. Army, I did a radio cross with them. I decided it was time I armor up.
Well, they
new Doctor Strange is coming out in the video world. It's going to be as good as Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., trust me, with Deathlock and the whole bit. The master of the mystic arts, Doctor Strange.
Well, I did have Douglas Dietrich on a while back, and he talked about Aquino, and then Aquino has actually been posting on the YouTube channel, refuting what he was saying about him. I at one point I had offered to mediate in an interview with them, but he said no, and I said, "Good, I'm never offering that again. I don't want nothing to do with it."
Goodies.
I know. I don't.
I'm just kidding. You absolutely need to do a turn of white light whenever you go in those presences, and that's Dion Fortune and psychic self-defense. That's the bottom line.
Yeah. Well,
no, my occult background is so strong that I actually taught metaphysics as a graduate course at at Harvard. I did it for almost 11 years. I taught metaphysics as a graduate course. I taught demonology to a graduate course, a class of Jesuits at Georgetown, because my background in the clavicle and the greater and lesser keys of Solomon is on that scholar level. Remember, I'm a Hermetic Kabbalist. I studied with Gershom Scholem and then went off into the Badlands. I was OTO in 1970 and Church of All Worlds with Tim and Morning Glory Zell. They called Morning Glory off campus Morning Glory because she made a lot of noise. I mean, you know, those are the old days of witchcraft and magic. I will say the reason I'm knowledgeable in this area is because when I came out of graduate school, every single organization I encountered had a magical occult element to it. The Republican Party, Harvard, the Skull and Bones, it's everywhere. Why? That's that thing that you asked about. You liked the idea of not knowing how something works, but it just flows, magic. That has been a dictate for almost 400 years. Every single scholar usually belongs to some kind of a lodge of some kind, Golden Dawn, whatever. You know, there were incredible writers. I mean, that's what is existing now, Bohemian Club. You've got it in Chicago. I mean, you know, I know you do.
I haven't looked. I'm actually 50 miles out of Chicago is where I'm at now. But
safer out there, huh?
Yeah, well, a little bit. I do have a river by me, but I don't know how long it would last if things dried up. So
yeah.
I do have my.
Did you get a lot of weather this year in Chicago? Is it really bad up there?
No, actually, it hasn't been. And we've had the wind has come up from the south directly north, which is a little strange. And it has brought that warmth in there. So when you had the storms coming from the west, that warmth would kind of hit them and push them up a little bit. So we got a lot of rain. We got some snow out there now, and it's freezing now. But it's if it stays like this, I can deal with this. I know for the ecosystem, you got to have some freezing of the ground. Otherwise, you get swamped by insects and all that stuff. But I hate the cold. I hate it. Yeah. That's why I would love to have a nice little buckyball in up in Arizona.
Yeah, well, my calculations say that in the area of Chicago, you're going to need a minimum of 12 feet between you and the surface of the earth when the day after tomorrow hits. That's where your frost line will hit, is at 12 feet. Just heads up, there it is. That's scientific. You can go to maps on that on Google. You can go future map of America, Chet Snow, and there it is. You can see how Chicago is going to play. Be careful.
Yeah, well,
isn't that what suspicious observers said? Be careful out there. Yeah. Oh, that's Hill Street Blues. Sorry.
I kind of just letting life. I'm going along with the flow and keeping aware of what I should do at any given point. Because if I try to take on me to prepare for whatever may come, you'd have to be delusional to think you could.
Take your bike to Sturgis. That's what I'd do, man.
Yeah. I haven't ride this summer. I did ride it quite a bit, and it was pretty cool. I liked it. I was quite happy about that.
Yeah. Might as well have some fun on the way out. You know what I mean? I know. I didn't mean to.
You got 4 bedrooms there, right? You got 4 bedrooms there. I might be doing one of these knock on the door things.
Oh, I can find a cell with your name on it, no problem.
Yeah, a cell.
Well,
right now the NSA went, who cell? What? And they're listening now.
And it's not even that well. It's BLM versus giving away our forests to China to pay our national debt. That's what's happening out here. And when it happened over in Bundy Ranch, that was a bunch of people trying to go in China and take over a utility. That's like they did in Canada. That's what's going to happen. And I don't know what your land is like, but they are all above you, up north of you. All of that is Chinese, and it's manning the utilities. They're trying to do that right now in Bend, Oregon. I don't know how that's going to go. The other keepers have been told to stay out, which means there will be no armed, resistance or anything like that. But it's BLM literally breaking the law, giving property away to the Chinese, logging, etc. It's a terrible thing that's happening here.
Well, it happened in Europe. I mean, one of the things that they found when they came to America was trees. That was like, wow. And they were shipping trees back. I got someone calling here, so let me patch them in. Let's see. Where's the button? Here's the button. Hello, you're on live with Richard Allen Miller on Feet to the Fire.
Hello, James.
Yes.
Happy New Year to you.
Thank you very much. Happy to you.
I don't
and
hear
also Happy New Year to Richard. Always a real mind trip listening to him. I have a question, and I don't know how to phrase this because it could be very deep. So I was wondering if Richard could possibly give me a brief rundown or sort of explain torsion physics and scalar physics and how it interfaces with conventional physics, because there's a lot of people out there trying to debunk it, saying it doesn't exist. So just if you could just give a brief explanation and maybe a couple of references that a layman could access.
Did you hear any of that, Richard? I don't understand why it's not coming.
Yeah, no,
okay, hold on. All right. Could you give that question again? I had the wrong button pushed here.
Okay, I was hoping that hello Richard,
Hi.
I'm enjoying your talk right now. I was hoping you could give me a brief explanation, and I know this is probably a deep topic, on scalar physics and torsion physics and how it interfaces with our current physics. There's a lot of debunkers on the net, and there's a lot of people just giving speculation. I was wondering if you could possibly give me a couple of references as well.
I think I'd start. Yeah, I sent you those references on knot theory. There's basically, you're talking about Keshe and some of the other things regarding the cold fusion program. Are you speaking about Keshe?
You know what? It's all open to you. You're the expert.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that. Yeah. I'm not sure what he's saying.
He said it's all open to you. I don't know why it's not. He said it's all up.
Whatever.
Go ahead.
Whatever answers Richard could give, because I don't know the questions to ask, really.
I know that song, man. Me either. It's a fine lady fine.
What's a good layman's reference for scalar physics and for torsion physics?
You can go Resnick and Holiday. That's the book I had when I was young, and that's the way I learned torsion physics, basic Resnick and Holiday. Basically, the new directions in scalar physics would include, of course, you start with Bearden and those people, but torsion physics is now going into a new direction, which is called knot theory, K-N-O-T, knot theory. And it's different than quantum foam, where you can take a plasma and you tie it into a knot, and then the way you would pull on the knot in different directions will cause the way space is bent. And they're going to be using this technology now in some new things with what's called the Casimir effect. That's interesting direction of physics. Keshe, I think, is a fraud. I don't think he's valid. There's a couple of Belgian guys that are doing some work that's interesting. I don't know yet. That's what I'm writing about now. I have a chapter in a book I'm writing right now called The Casimir Effect, or Adventures in Time Travel. And basically, this form of torsion physics, if you will be about membranes. And the way a membrane goes into a different membrane to create a multiverse of membranes. And the physics of it is what I'm trying to write right now. So stay tuned, film at 11. Well, that's what I'm writing about, like I did on the buckyball last year with you. Yeah, right. I'm writing on the physics of Casimir effect. Yeah, and
so it sounds like this is a branch that will sort of turn our physics upside down as we currently know it?
Well, yes and no. Mei Wen Ho is a Chinese writer that is now talking about epigenetics, for example, and the so-called neo-Darwinisms are poo-pooing her as being ludicrous and out to lunch. And so there's a big upside down in anthropology going on right now that is reflected in physics and the constructs, because Mei Wen Ho is a physicist, actually, and there's Jerry Pollack and others. So I don't know where this is all going to go. For my money, my sense is it's in the structure and memory of water. That is where our new breakthroughs are going to be. And the torsion part of it that you're interested in will most likely be centered around knot theory and the way a plasma does not mix with itself in knot theory, and the way it would bend it around and do things with it. I think so. I have references. Didn't I give you, James, I gave you a thing on free energy?
Today?
Yes, I did.
Okay, I will look for it.
Right now, and let me give you 3 links that are absolutely what you want.
Okay, what I'll do, caller, is I will put these things up on the website with the interview so that you'll have the links as you're sending them. Yeah, I'll just capture it.
A magical diary. Oh. We're going into magnetic monopoles. No, I don't want to do magnetic monopoles. I have to. It just takes me a minute to think about what I'm doing here.
Okay. Well, I do appreciate you calling, and I will put that up with this so that you can have the references along with his.
Yeah, and your voice is really muffled now. You need to go back to the way you were because I can't understand you.
Okay. All righty. Well, thanks for calling.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much.
All right.
Yeah. Let me get. Okay. Here it is. Here it is. This is what you guys want, John Benedini. I'm going to. Here is what your chat room wants, right there.
Okay. Well, the multiverse.
Start with the multiverse, and then you go into the Holo model, and it goes on down from there. What is information? And then we go into knot theory, and then what is that? That's Louis Kaufman's work. Yes. And then welcome to John Benedini. Yeah. John Bedini. Yeah. His work is excellent.
I don't want to sound like I'm a non-intellectual or anti-intellectual here, but when you get into the theories of the known universe, what are the values of it? What's the value of that? I mean, to me, it's almost like you're learning about this. There's different theories for the universe, and then those theories, once they decide on a theory,
just possibilities that you had not previously thought of as possible. For example, looking at the brain as an amorphous semiconductor would suggest that it's a four-dimensional hologram of 5 space, and that if you could go into different parts of the brain, you could literally change the movie. And that is the physics of what I'm trying to confirm now using neurotransmitters.
But would I be wrong to say that I kind of doubt that you can physically do that? That would be more of a, let's call it a spiritual tweak?
Well, if it's spiritual, it'll have a physical analog.
Because to me, I think physical...
In the universe that I work with, if it's spiritual or, intellectual or whatever, emotional, it'll have a physical analog.
Right. But it'll have the mechanism. So what I'm saying is like I look at the 3D world as a limiter to limit our creative abilities until we grow up more, and then we move on to, say, a 4D world. I mean, I'm making it very...
Good luck with that. I mean, basically, the first paper I ever wrote as a out of graduate school was called time distortion, or I never knew there were corners in time until I was told to stand in one. No, that's the way that paper was titled, because that's the limitation of it. And so with a different worldview, you now have the possibility of a different world to go to. And so that's what imagination opens up, where psyche is brought into matter. There is a physical analog, and in terms of the one you're going to refer to, I would refer to Castaneda and bilocation. And I think we'll find that bilocation has something to do with cavitation.
I guess what I'm getting at is that if we look at the world now and realize that all scientific breakthroughs in their primary application are weapons and used for control, when you go up into the scale...
Yeah, it's true, isn't it?
Yeah, when you go up into the more control you have over the universe, the more weaponry is used. And so there's a part where you can't go any farther until you change your way of looking at life, which then, it would be someone who wouldn't be warlike or greed or whatever.
Yeah, I gotcha.
And that would be the
like
key. That's like the key to get into the next level, though.
Yeah, belief systems are arbitrary. If the fact that you were born in America means you're predisposed to be a Christian of some kind. If you had been born in Pakistan, then a belief then shouldn't be an absolute driver. It should be a tool.
Okay.
And sometimes it's not appropriate to wear a bikini in a formal dinner. You understand?
Right. I see. In my theology, my worldview, I realize that whatever I may come up with to explain God is going to be wrong, but it may be an analog of it. It may be something that could be metaphoric.
Yeah, the picture you want is Gregory Bateson when he said, "What is your metaphor but to feed your paradox? Yeah. What is your metaphor but to serve your paradox?" And what I had was a field with a paradox. Well, it's the translation of one to the other. That was one of the original Bibles before the Colburn Bibles, called the Sefer Yetzirah. And that was the book of formation. And it related sound to words, and how words and sound and dance movement could change space-time. That was in a previous epoch technology. I don't know how the pyramids were built, but I watch Ghost Dance or Whirling Dervish, and then I go to someone like Gabriel Roth, or even going back to, what's her name? Kate Bush. And then before that, Kenneth Anger in his Magic Lantern series. The idea of using dance and sound to change space-time. There's technology is for the giving. And it is a way of being. It is not the way of being. It is considered the leading religion of today, but that's because it's simple. Let there be light, and the physicist reached over and went click, and there was light, and it was good. Now, the directions that we go in, nuclear energy, electrical current, these technologies are based, this is what this guy, further on his question, are based on what is called a closed system. But in physics, we also have the construct of an open system, like in membrane theory. Those references that I gave you are worth a review, because in that order, and you'll see my logic thinking there. That was the way I opened up this discussion on free energy. I am uncertain what it all means yet. That's what the Psychotronic Conference was about when I came back there this last year and got to spend time with you. It was wonderful. I hope they do that conference again, because have I got something to contribute this year after I saw? No, I think there is a Bedini charger for little cell phones. It'll charge your battery. It'll do it in 4 minutes, not 4 hours. And it's using a free energy device. And imagine if we took that device and made it times 12 for your house. if the grid went down because of your computer, your telephones, your stove, your refrigerator, your washer, dryer, your pump for your water, your lights.
So does this generator actually exist?
Yeah, there's working prototypes everywhere now. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Some of them, like, quote, let the buyer beware. You can build them. They're simple enough to build. What they are is storage systems. They're like a battery. But it's using a type of what we call open energy rather than closed system. Thermodynamics are not applied in this universe. Just like ESP does not relate to space-time. It's, outside space-time. We don't understand how psi energy works, but I have a series of equations, and it trained my SEALs with it, and it worked for intuition. So, stay tuned on how it really works. It'll change every day. What did you think of those references? I've got more, too.
I see. The way I have this, hold on. The way I have this set up in order to capture your video is I have to position the window and then take a capture. When I open up that window, you go off the screen. It's all, I can see like your chin.
I'm not that important.
But it's saved. So what I was going to do was when we were done, I was going to capture all of that, save it in a text file.
Oh, yeah, yes, go, please.
So that way I
yes.
could, and I already got the downloads. So I'll put that all together in a zip or something that people can.
Pick up on what I had to say about it. I'm pretty interested in this new direction because I have a sense that it's important for our whole thing of. Did you ever see that science fiction movie Interstellar?
Oh yeah, I loved it.
So and where he's in it, the Akashic Records, where he's pushing books out of the bookshelf in poltergeist form to try to communicate to his daughter.
Yeah,
Okay, so I'm going to say something. That is a metaphor of exactly what we call serendipity and what we choose to find significant in things. Synchronistic and the fact that it becomes significant to you. You place value in it as an instinct or a value that you can't quite put your finger on, but you somehow think that book being thrown out of that bookshelf is important. That place, that is where it happens. And that place is possible just manipulating various neurotransmitters. What do you do with these neurotransmitters, by the way, is that you create sacred geometry inside your mind's eye. And when you focus on that sacred geometry, you can set up a resonance cavity oscillation that actually literally is Ezekiel's vision or the throne chariot of God. It's a time machine or a spaceship. You can go to Mars in it, literally. That is what I'm now discovering about consciousness. It has to do with cavitation, and I haven't gotten to that place yet. I don't know how that works. I'm still trying to work out the physics. It's, even for someone as good as me, it's not that simple. It's not. I can't be snowed. That's the one part of it that's really wonderful. When Keshe or someone else comes out with their deal, they can't snow me. I know when it's real and I know when it's not. I can't explain how to, I know that. That was one of the values the military used on me. I was a good lead scout. I knew, which direction to go on something for a study. And right now, it's not theory. And that is where I think we're going to discover that fullerenes, all the different things, all the way down, all the way up, is a metaphor of information and its resolution, going from one subset to the other and the transfer of more detail.
Right.
Well, I know. Sorry about that.
No, I mean, I think. You have, the way I look at you is there's two sources of information that are intertwined and they break apart and they come together. And one of them is going to be the science, mathematic, physics guy. And one of them is going to be this tapping into the untalkable, unapproachable
gets
because of that, you can bring that together and come up with stuff and have it be conveyed in language, let's say, in examples.
Once you get it in mind's eye, you've got it. It isn't about my words. It's your mind's eye that makes it real.
Yeah, but it has to get there. And some people close off all information other than what comes from their eyes, their nose, science is really limited like that, where they just, if you can't be doing it in a laboratory, it's not real.
It worked very good for Madame Curie, did it?
No.
With her the little vision on what is going on. Yeah, you got to keep your eyes open. How's that? You be careful out there. Eyes open, no fear.
Well, it sounds to me, I mean, we're talking about all this stuff, and we look at the future and what kind of discoveries after the first half of the show, we're all just being burnt and drowned and dried and fried and mashed and whatever.
Mutilated or otherwise and folded. Yeah, I got it. Yeah, I don't have an answer to this. My place now is that everything happens for a reason, and everything leads to something better. That means the fact that you're able to see something terrible means now at least you're aware of it.
All right, let me run this past you. There's a person who lived their life foolishly. They've had all kinds of trouble. They've caused trouble. That people have seen this person. This person has lived their life, and they've learned to not do what that person does. Right. So this person is dying on their deathbed, and people thank them for basically going, look, you helped us. Right.
Showed you what not to do.
All right. So that person could look at their life as a loss because they've screwed up their whole life. But in reality, it taught many people, what not to do. So what I'm saying is, where we're in right now, my worldview opinion, which is always fluid, is that this whole thing is showing us the consequence of relying on, we'll say, the matter as opposed to spirit in matter, and it's going to crash and burn. So that the rest of the universe, for the rest of eternity, when they start thinking about ego and all this stuff, can say, let's go look at the film from Earth and see what happened. So, I mean, a lot of people want this to end good. They want, and then somebody will come in and rescue us. Jesus, the angels, whatever.
But I'm sure.
Yeah. However, I mean, everyone's got their ideas of it, But I'm thinking of and I have my own, but I'm thinking it doesn't have to finish well to finish well. It could be a disaster which will avert many more disasters throughout the universe and eternity.
Well, it's a process. It's a path, and it's called art. Simon says you can go halfway to the door. Your door is not the goal. It's the journey. And once you understand the rules of engagement in that regard, you start and can work your way backward in path working. Basically, the two paths that go to God, the male and female on the tree of life, and they go up to God, is the hermit and the lovers. You either do it single or androgynous, or with a reflected mate in the physical world. It's a metaphor in the way you're relating to self. And self has got a bunch of different things. They used to talk about all there is love. Well, when you look at the Greek forms of love, eros, philo, agape, and telema, thelema, is the love of will, the purpose, why you're here. And at the love stage of awareness, it is basically a type of intent. It's what actually happens at the end of the day, whether you do it kicking and screaming or you did it where you flowed like Buddha. That's what your choice is. Now, synchronicity and finding significance in something is the mystery part of why did you choose to look at this over these things. And that leads to another level of love, which are called jhana states, Jhanta, in higher states of consciousness. This is John Curtis Gowan, Northridge, Trance, Art, and Creativity. And he got a Nobel Prize for this, by the way. And basically, he's showing that these different levels of cosmic consciousness have layers that Persinger is measuring now in meditators that is associated with bliss states, the way the brain is firing, the way the brain is entrained and functioning in this state as opposed to in a love thing or something. Now, you have a choice on these things. And the level above bliss is what the Quakers call joy. And that is what we are all seeking, is joy. And joy is when you can distinguish the distinction between intent and purpose. And once you can do that, you have just foiled Jade 2.0 software. Did you know that they're using software right now in New York City to look into the future 28 minutes before a crime is committed? They're actually using that system, and it's working. Minority Report, just like out of the movies. It's in New York City now. I don't know if Chicago's implemented it. I wouldn't be surprised. It needs volume density of individuals up over a certain level to be effective.
I mean, how would that possibly work?
Jade 2.0 is a way of profiling you and being able to have studied your buying habits and your talk on the radio enough that it can accurately predict what you're going to do before you do. That's Jade 2.0 software.
I just don't believe that.
That is full software, by the way. That's not even the new stuff with the Jade Helm experiments that they were doing. They're shaking on software.
I mean, I can understand they can profile you to find out your limits. Like, you know, this guy isn't going to, most likely won't kill anybody.
What you're going to do.
I can't buy that. They're going to know what I'm going to do. I don't know what I'm going to do.
Well, but they can accurately now, not guess, they can accurately predict what you specifically are going to do. In fact, that's the time travel stuff we're now talking about, going 28 minutes into the future and knowing what you're going to do before you do.
Well, see, in my worldview, the 28 seconds in the future there's an infinite amount of 28 seconds in the future that could happen. Now, a lot of them are going to correlate together because your choices are not as long as, say, 28 years in the future.
Belief systems, assumed truths, and past history. And then what you had to eat for this morning.
Yeah, because, I mean, how would they want to know what I'm going to eat? You know, I mean, I would say, all right, 28 seconds. I'm standing in the kitchen.
Yeah. Why they want to know what you're eating, for example, your thing, is because it's no longer you are what you eat, it's whom you feed. It's like you're working with a habitat. That means I know how the yeasts are going to operate inside your body. You know, candida, whatever, your armpit smell, whatever. There's, everybody's different. And that's what the new software can do. It can actually predict behavior in a specific individual with certain vectors that you don't even know what you're going to do first. Now, that's the difference between your level of consciousness right now and where you want to have your level of consciousness, awareness of self.
I mean, I'll give you an example from a fictional source. In the Star Wars, the first three movies, you have Darth Vader, who was all of a sudden turns against the leader, which, because he could not foresee that, because the odds of that happening are so off the norm of all the parallel universes, they all have him not doing that, but he did. And so the problem I have with any type of prediction mechanism is that no matter how many times one guy gets up and brushes his teeth in the morning, 47 times, it doesn't mean he's going to do it the next one. Probably, but if with that same idea, then they should be able to. You can pick lotteries.
They predict that he's going to stop on the 43rd and the 47th time he won't brush his teeth.
Yeah. Oh.
And have that be accurate. That's what Cliff High is doing.
Yeah, but let me tell you something personally. Between me, you, and the lamppost, I've looked into his work and I had him on there, and there's a lot of things he said what happened didn't.
Yeah.
So I mean, I think his system has merit, but it has to be interpreted. The data's got to be interpreted, and that's where the problem comes in. Whether it's remote viewing,
that's what we're ever meaning toward, better at, etc. That's why they've gone beyond Jade 2.0 software now. They have profiling software that I'm. So what I'm trying to do is pretend that my mind is an open book, and that as long as I'm true to myself, none shall say nay. That's Aleister Crowley. Do what thou wilt, shall the law. Love is the law, live under will. If you do your true will, none will say nay. The universe wants you to be doing what you're supposed to be doing. That's one way you can use for discovery.
Yeah, well, I mean, that I would go with the phrase "do what thou wilt," as I would look at it as a sentence. It says, "Do whatever the hell you want."
As long as, do what thou wilt is the whole of the law. You can do whatever you want. That's the law. Love is the law. Love under will. That means you can be open and loving to somebody and try to help them unless it deters you from your own goal. And that's God's will. And if you live it like that, that's a magician's way of being. That level is what I would call the high road. You automatically trust somebody until you have evidence to not. You don't project your shadow on them.
Right.
Well, that's what we all do. We project our shadow. I just watched the 8 Horrible Men, or whatever that new movie is by Tarantino. What is that over the edge, man? And it's the same thing, not trusting each other.
Yeah.
So.
Well, we have about 10 minutes. Well, maybe about 5 minutes here before we come to the end. So I don't know if there's anything in particular. My brain's already exercised a lot.
Today? Have I fried you? Sorry.
No. I mean, it's good. The thing is, I guess it's not like. See, I'm not trying to project out into the universe and telling it what it is. Okay. But what I have found is people who have done that, I found problems with what they've projected. So I take note of that, and I readjust it as I go along. And some of the things they come up with that seem to work pretty well, except for people who are going out in theory, which aren't in reality. Theory is out there, it's out here, here's reality, right here, real. Now, how this got created took a theory to get it there, but it still had to use methods to get to it. So when we're talking about things, a lot of it is getting into that deep matrix behind what everything is without even having a clue of how to use it, what the ramifications are, and what have you. And so that's why I kind of let the God, the universe, kind of get the river going, because I can't learn everything, I can't do everything, I can't understand anything. So what I should do is do and understand what I can. And so that's why I'm trusting in the, rather than fear of the universe, I trust the universe to carry me along. And when I need to be corrected, let's say, something will be there to correct me. And I'm trying to keep my eyes open.
The Holy Guardian Angel. That's in Magick, they call that the Holy Guardian Angel. Metaphor, always in metaphor. I was going to show you one of the cool weapons I have here. The one I go out with is my water pistol filled with my holy water, and I can go and shoot vampires, squirt. Or even better, you could put ammonia in it, squirt.
That's what I thought you were going to say, something like that, rather than holy water. But
well, that's how you do, and that isn't a weapon, because in Zombieland, they will come after your weapons. They will come after your drugs, and nobody recognizes this as a weapon. Now, it's a way of being.
Now, can you have holy ammonia?
Yeah, you could bless it.
Yeah, two birds with one stone. Then
steam up real bit. Actually, what's good for a zombie crowd is a water cannon. Swoosh. Yeah, that's anarchist cookbook level. The way we used to do it, we'd take a light bulb and drill a hole down in the bottom and let the air back in it. And then you put a little tiny bit of gasoline inside the light bulb and then screw it back up. Lights up every party.
Yeah, I would say so. That reminds me of the movie Straw Dogs with not the new one, but I didn't see it, but the original one, where he took a bear trap out. He started boiling some oil. When they try to get in a window, they got a face full of boiling oil. That'll deter entry at that point.
Yeah.
But,
technique of how you want to defend yourself and the headspace that you use. You don't want to hurt anybody. I mean, I don't want to hurt anybody. So what I'm going to try to do is non-invasive in that regard. That's what they call a taser. Non-lethal. Yeah, good luck with that.
Yeah.
Man, I don't know how to say this now, but I would prepare for some strangeness around water and food. And whether it probably won't be very long, couple, 3 or 4 days, it'll open your eyes to how vulnerable you are. And once you get that, it changes everything in terms of what the Greek called autark, which was supreme individual sovereignty. And your neighborhoods are probably your best friends. That's your bunker, is the neighborhood. That's the way they do it in Mexico City.
I just got this email from a listener. FBI is now en route to the Oregon Federal Building with scores of fully armed agents. Their agents arrive in Oregon in mass, preparing to gain tactical advantage over the militia with a swift, hot response.
Oh, I talked about that's Bend, Oregon. That's over in Bend, probably.
Yeah.
Where they're having another Bundy Ranch right now. Yeah. It's Oath Keepers and some farmers. And the Oath Keepers have been asked and said they're going to stay away. So there shouldn't be any armed confrontation because the Oath Keepers aren't going to be part of there. We have, like, your militia. You have militia, I think.
No.
That's, how did Yoda put it? Yoda put it, my gun you may have after I give you my bullets, I will.
Yeah. No, I know originally there was 150 people there, but now there's down to 12.
Yeah, with my cap on.
Yeah, I see. Yeah.
With a water pistol and holy water. All in metaphor.
Those are my kind of weapons.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm trying
Takes care of the vampires. I have a concern about water. I think that's going to be a real bad one this next year, and I don't know how it's going to play. But Katrina should have been a lesson for everybody in what actually happened and the way FEMA handled that whole thing. They were completely unprepared. They're still unprepared. And if the Madrid fault line goes down,
well, I mean, some would argue that
Oklahoma,
some would argue that FEMA's job really isn't to be prepared. It's more of a containment, mop up, control. Don't stop the hurricane, guide it to where you'd like it to go, type of a group.
Yeah. How did the Templar do it? Looking down to the sleeping village in the early dawns, he said, "Kill them all. Let God sort out His own."
Yeah,
that's crazy thinking, man. I mean, really, I don't know, man. I think that we are close to the end of days, and that what I'm doing is teaching my children well. I'm trying to teach them what I know. And that's, I think, their only salvation now, because I'm not going to be able to save this world. So I'm too old. That's what Castaneda said. There were 4 enemies of man. There was fear, power, clarity, and then old age. You're too old to do anything about it.
Try. I read. Yeah, you get the first 3 worked on, and you get to the last one, and
by the time you get it down, you're too old to do anything about it. Yeah, exactly.
Oh. Well, I do want to appreciate.
If you want me to end with something, I'm a starving artist, and feel free to write to buy my books, because I've got lots more where that came.
Yeah, keep on keeping on with this. This is this could be the new Library of Alexandria type material in the future. People will find in a million years from now, they'll be looking and they'll find Richard Alan Miller works.
I doubt that part.
Anyway, Richard, it's always fun to talk to you. You're really unique because you have all this information, and you're still fun about it and spontaneous and honest. I love it. So I really appreciate talking with you.
Thank you, sir.
All right, and we will talk. We'll talk again. Last year we didn't talk all year. Year before that, 4 times.
It was Chicago. I had a great time with you there.
Yeah, so we'll have to do some more talking. So take care. God bless.
You too.
All right, Richard Alan Miller. All right, where's the Yeah, I will be taking his stuff that he posted, and I will put it up in the when I post it. I'll post this both in the YouTube section, and I will post the information underneath it as well as on the website. Alrighty, we'll be back next week. Reach for the skies within.
Retell your timeless truths. Oh, ancient one. Feet to Fire is a production of IPS Media Works on the OnSync Radio network of stations.